Hi, my name is Jennifer DiMarco, and I'm the writer and director of the feature film Social Box. Social Box started actually as a short story that was written for the Trinity Project in June of 2019. Actually, if you go to the official Social Box playlist at www.tiny.cc/socialbox, there's actually a live reading of me reading that short story where I talk about what the Trinity Project was and what it is now. So the story has been called prescient because it, in general, talks about a global pandemic, but I don't think I really believe in that type of thing. But also, I think there's a lot of things I got wrong. Like everyone out there who could potentially be watching this, I had never lived through a global pandemic, and so there were things that obviously did not come to be. But it was interesting, and it is definitely a little surreal to definitely a little. It is definitely surreal to read and talk about the story now and the film that is being made from the story. Now being early in July of 2020. Actually, we're like midway through July of 2020, and be experiencing this and living through this. There are many things I would do differently about the story, but I think that's probably the sign of a writer who actually cares about what they're putting out in the world. I think we always know in our hearts that we can make something even better, but we have to also know when to walk away. With Social Box, I don't have to particularly walk away because now I get to revisit the story and the world in a different medium, film. So yeah, it started as a short story, and then this is the script for the trailer. This came to be for under some very extraordinary circumstances, and interestingly enough, I wouldn't be in the position that I am today if it weren't for the real life pandemic that has our attention in 2020. And basically what happened is back when the story was first written in June of 2019, very soon after that, it was pretty quickly optioned for film, but not by the studio that has decided to do it, Blue Forge Films, in partnership with Blue Village. And I was then, pretty much that was the end of my involvement in the project. It was optioned. I did do a first pass at a film script, but as we all know, let me share with you guys that often the original author is either not asked to do a pass at the film script, to do a draft of the film script at all, if it's being based on a novel or a short story, or they do a draft, but then it's taken apart and reworked and revised, sometimes by the actors, sometimes by further film and script writers that work with the studio, that the studio really likes, people that know a little bit more what the Hollywood or the large budget studios aesthetic is. So that was it, and I was moving on with my life. And then because actually the real life pandemic happened, the studio that had optioned the film let it go, because at that time they had no idea when things were going to reopen. Actually, even as of now in July 2020, no one is really sure about that. And when filming did reopen, it was going to be so astronomically expensive, a lot of extra precautions and things like that. So the project actually came back to me, and I was pretty thrilled about that. It was the first time in a very long time that I had entertained the idea of selling my film options to someone where I wasn't going to be involved. And I had gone through with it because I am a working writer, and my wife and our children work together. We sit on the board and are full-time volunteers. So I know that's kind of a concept that a lot of people aren't familiar with, but we are full-time volunteers at a nonprofit, a volunteer-run 501c3 nonprofit, Blue Legacy. And what we do is we work full-time, and in exchange, we live on the acre and a quarter campus where Blue Legacy is located. So we still need to make our income. We have to buy groceries, we have to pay personal family bills and all that kind of stuff. Those things aren't covered by the company. So we are all artisans in some way or another: game designers, actors, producers, novelists. Brianne, Maxwell, and Faith and I all are. So we make our income that way. So again, financially, as I think a lot of people understand, financially, I had been willing to sell the film rights. But when it came back, I felt that this was really and truly what I wanted in my heart. Now, we are moving forward with the film adaptation, and we are working from that first draft of the script that I did, but it's being expanded upon even further. But now the film will be done by Blue Legacy, by their film division, Blue Forge Films, in partnership with Blue Village, which is a acting troupe that works with Blue Forge Films. And it's a really cool acting troupe. It's all members. They all sign up to be part of this acting troupe. And some people pay like $2 a month membership, and some people pay like $100 a month membership. And it all depends, like if you're a $2 a month membership or $100 a month membership, doesn't matter. You get the same voting. You get to vote on what films the acting troupe makes and what tie-in products they do. The difference is that the $100 a month folks are also called producers, and they receive a royalty on the creative content that's created by Blue Village. But the $2 a month members and the $100 a month members, they get cast, they get offered roles and everything, and it's just a really cool thing. So I work with Blue Village as a manager, and they're really amazing people. So one day I said to the Blue Village group, because they get an email from me every single Monday and we talk back and forth, I said, how would you guys like to do this? It came back to me from another studio. Blue Forge Films would like to do it. We'd like to cast all Blue Village members in it, and let's do it now. Let's do it now during quarantine. Of course, the initial response was, oh my gosh, how in the world could we possibly do that? The members of Blue Village are actually across 3 states. We have members in Texas, in Arizona, and in Washington, and they're welcome. Members are welcome from all states. So what I explained was actors would be able to self-tape at home, and the direction, I would actually adapt the script for self-taping. And because in the world of Social Box, the humans in Social Box are experiencing a global pandemic and they're all in lockdown, it won't be an issue. They would be self-taping. And because the Social Box itself could very well be the thing that's taping them, it all kind of worked out. So I said, I will storyboard the script and I will put like descriptions that I would normally give to like my cinematographer or a camera operator. And I say, the camera should be from this angle and it's this kind of shot, and hold it for this long, and I'll write all of that into the script. So I will break the script out shot by shot by shot, and then every actor will be sent the script just for their character, and they can just focus on that. Okay, so pretty much everyone was game, and I believe everyone that was offered a role for that one did indeed accept the role. And what I said to all of the members, as I said, anyone who wants to do this, I will create a role for you, even if there's not a role in the short story. The cast of the film will be much bigger than the cast of the short story. And we see that even in the trailer. So the trailer came out earlier today, which is July 17th, Friday, July 17th. And there's an official Social Box playlist that has a bunch of content about Social Box. The film will come out on October 31st of this year. And it's really cool because what the trailer allowed us to do is it allowed folks to try self-taping. And I think a lot of things went wrong, but a lot of things went right. So the reason I'm really excited to share the trailer is it kind of shows our rough draft. It shows like, okay, this was with minimal storyboarding, minimal direction, just like basics. And that I was able to then become better informed with what each actor needs, because all of the actors needed a completely different level of direction. Some of them have been cinematographers, some of them have worked in the film industry for decades, and so they needed less direction and more allowance, more creative freedom. But some of our actors have never worked in film before, but they're so passionate and they really want to be included and they need more direction. So that informed the way the script was then written. So today I'm going to be reacting to the Social Box trailer, and I'm going to be able to tell you guys a little bit about it. I have the script here as well. And I think it's also really cool which of these characters are not original to the short story. So that's kind of a neat thing as well. So let's give it a watch. Well, right away we see Nolan, and Nolan is an original character for the film. The plot of the film is a little bit more complicated than the plot of the short story, because the film is a feature film and the short story is just a short story. So Nolan, originally in the trailer, Nolan had several shots. We were going to see him in several different ways, but when we basically beta tested the trailer, when we showed the trailer to different folks, they were confused. The actor that plays Nolan, Greg Laurel, and the actor that played Neil, Maxwell DiMarco, my son, people kept confusing them. And it was very important to me that that didn't happen. In the way we're going to fix that is in the feature film, Maxwell is going to wear his hair differently. He is going to be clean shaven, and I think that will take care of it. But when the trailer was shot, that wasn't something that I caught, and both Greg and Maxwell had full facial hair because we're seeing them from different angles and this kind of stuff. And they're both Caucasian males of roughly the same age. Their hair, neither of them have a buzz cut or anything like that. So it was, people were getting confused, and it was important to me that folks not be confused. So about half of Maxwell's shots and about 2/3 of Greg's shots actually had to be cut for the trailer to be released. Also, Nolan, Greg's character, is very, very pivotal, as pivotal as Neil's character, Maxwell's character, in the film, and we didn't want to reveal too much. If you have already read or listened to me read the short story Social Box, I read it for an episode of Live Stories, a series that is here on Blueflix Lite on YouTube. You know that there's a very particular ending to the story, that if that were the only ending of the feature film, the story would be a massive spoiler, but that's actually not the route that we're going. It is part of the route that we're going in, but not the entire thing. So there's also these additional twists and depths to the film. But yeah, so this was the one shot that Greg got to have. I always feel bad when actors are cut, even though anyone who knows anything about film knows that an actor's entire role can wind up, as they say, on the cutting room floor, can be edited out because of pacing. It just doesn't work. Some things work better in stories or novels, and some things work better in film. So there's always reasons why this kind of thing can happen. So, I mean, I always feel bad, but at the same time, I don't feel bad, because I'm like, that is what the industry is. But I guess it helps me because I know who Nolan is. I know the Nolan character, and I know how cool the Nolan character is. And in terms of Maxwell's character, Neil, that's a character that's already very near and dear to my heart. It is a archetype that I revisit time and time again. Like some authors, I revisit the same themes more than once, because those are the themes that interest me, and I want to explore them in a different way and explore them deeper each time and from different perspectives. I like to explore the things that interest me and that I have personal and profound experience in, such as losing a parent, living with a disability, living with a child that isn't neurotypical, being not neurotypical. These kinds of things you will see again and again in my work, no matter what the medium is. The other thing, because I'm referencing both the script and the trailer here, you guys, so I'm cheating a little, is you'll notice that in the short story, and if you haven't, please do support an independent publisher, you guys. Go and over to Amazon and buy Trinity June by Blue Forge Press. You can search it just by searching Trinity June, Jennifer DiMarco, say, or something like that. It should come up, but Social Box is in there. But, support the press. They're an independent company. Again, they're the print division of Blue Legacy, so they're a complete nonprofit, and every little bit truly helps. In the story, it was said that drones and things like this delivered the probos, the provision boxes. And in the film, because the film has been updated and adapted since the actual pandemic occurred, I think we do change it to stimulus package, because now, that's a lexicon that people actually use. But in the trailer, we see deliveries still being made by people. And we may not actually see that in the feature film itself. We might be able to change that, but it's all going to depend on budget. Because obviously, to have a drone delivering a bunch of packages, we would have to work with one of our actors who has a drone and can be safe and get footage of the drone delivering packages to places. So that was kind of a neat thing. So in the trailer, you do see like a DHL truck and a UPS truck and a FedEx truck, stuff like that.
It's to the Lord in prayer. Thank you for listening to Faith Radio. It's a great day for staying home and staying safe, with both a pollen count and a viral count breaking records around the world. Don't forget to leave your shoes outside so Satan's little pathogens don't set up shop in your carpet.
Anne, who is played by Geraldine Bowers, is a pastor. Her shots were twice as long in the trailer. And I think it was just because I was really excited. I really like writing Christian characters. I'm very pro-Christian. I was raised New Testament Christian and considered myself a New Testament Christian, a very devout New Testament Christian, until I was pretty deep into my 20s. And so I really like writing Christian characters that aren't bigots or aren't fanatic right-wing something or others. So I really liked Anne, and I think Geraldine does an amazing job at playing her. But I think that because I like that character so much, I had originally made her shots much, much longer. An interesting little factoid is we ran out of time when we were filming the trailer, and so instead of being able to bring in another Blue Village actor, I had to be the voice on the radio. So I'm not the singer, but I'm the radio announcer voice, and I will not be reappearing in the feature film for that cameo. But anyway, let's continue.
Pips, it's me again, Pippa in Pink, and today, apparently, we are reviewing the monthly stimulus package. Let's suit up and see what we've got.
Yes, this is the Pippa in Pink scene. I love the Pippa in Pink character. She is a ton of fun, and Pippa in Pink is played by Faith DiMarco, my daughter, and we, of course, I think could go a little bit further because Maxwell and Faith and Brianne and I are all obviously quarantined together here on the Blue Legacy campus. So if you can imagine, some of you might absolutely be excited and love this idea, and others of you might think this is horrific. But we are, during lockdown and quarantine, we are locked down and quarantined at work. because we live where we work. So we have complete access to the film studios here and all of the equipment. So I think that we tried in some ways, especially with Neil's segments with Maxwell and with Brienne's segments, she plays a character, oh my goodness, named Luna. We tried to make them, look like a little bit more homegrown, like we didn't like clean up the kitchen a whole bunch or whatever before we filmed Luna's sections with Brienne. With Maxwell's sections, we just shot in a corner of his room, but we like dimmed the lights. We tried to, there's a little bit of shake to the camera because we just put it on the table instead of on a tripod. But I felt that it was very important with Pippa that it look as professional as possible because in the world of the film, she is like this mega star streamer who basically became famous prior to her world going into lockdown, but then became ultra famous after lockdown. So Pippa in Pink's segments, I think, look a little bit more polished, and that was done on purpose. So let's see here. Dwight was another character. Dwight is played by Mark Miller. And Dwight and Pippa are both characters. So is Anne, who are in the original short story. Dwight is played by Mark Miller. And he really does have some large dogs. So that was really cool. He tried to get all 3 of the dogs in the shot, but we actually wound up having to cut a lot of the shots because the only way that Mark could get them with the equipment that he was using was indoors. And it occurred to us that that doesn't work with the mythology of the film, because with the mythology of the film, you're not supposed to be outdoors for any long length of time. I mean, like a minute is pushing it. And so we thought for Dwight it would work if he was outside for, say, 5 minutes, because he's kind of a he's very fast to be very angry about the pandemic and about being locked inside. He's not an indoor type of person. But I think in the film, we're actually going to see those scenes that we saw in the trailer, those little snippets, but redone inside, because it just doesn't work with the mythology of the film. But I did like being able to see the dog's head pop up, and Mark with his revolver tucked into his waistband was important to set Dwight up as the kind of person that Dwight was. And I was very grateful because Mark was dealing with a camera that he had purchased a while back that actually died soon after he was done filming. And I think someone tried to scam him. I think he got scammed on the purchase, because the camera was not what it was cracked up to be, I think. But I think he just did a fantastic job with the equipment that he had. And I think in the future, like a lot of the actors, the majority of the trailer was shot in HD, but on smartphones. Some folks didn't shoot in HD because they have little digital cameras and they thought maybe a digital camera. I think there's a lot of stigma about shooting on phones. But I think a lot of folks don't understand that most modern day smartphones can, if used properly, can get you as good, if not better, than some of the consumer digital cameras that are out there, especially the digital cameras that claim to be HD, but they still wind up being pretty grainy, or they have really limited lux, which means they don't do well in any kind of lighting other than brilliant bright light. So there was that. We see a couple of snippets. Like, I'm trying not to show too much of the trailer up on the screen for you guys here as well, because I want you guys to go see it. We're trying to break 5,000 views. I always like to laugh and say that would be nothing to Pippa in Pink, but we're a small independent nonprofit film studio, and so, hey, what can we do? Kitty is a character. She's played by Leah Kelly. Leah Kelly was the co-star in the Blue Forge film, the serious drama Sound and Silence, that explores one Black woman's experience coming out as gay when she's in her 40s, and Leah actually plays that main character's, in quotes, love interest, even though that's, I think, misleading. So I really wanted to make sure that Leah got a character that was more fun and silly, because her character in Sound and Silence is very serious, sensual, but also very complex and complicated. And I wanted to give her something a little bit more fun. So Kitty is definitely that character. You'll see her in the trailer spraying off, cleaning off her delivery box, her probo, her stimulus package supposedly from the governor. Then we get to meet Luna. Luna, who is played by my wife, Jennifer DiMarco. She is brand new to the feature film, so she's not in the short story, just like Kitty, Leah's character. And Brienne composed the music for the trailer. Brienne will also compose a lot of the music for the feature film, though Greg Laurel, he is also a musician. He has several albums, 2 albums and several singles out already with Blue Forge Records, which is the music division of Blue Legacy. So definitely check him out as well, you guys. That's just at blueforgerecords.com. You can find Greg's music. But Greg's music, his original music, will be used to score the sections with Nolan, which I just love that. I think that is going to be fantastic. Brienne's character, Luna, so Kitty, Leah's character, she does like a podcast / web show with her best friend, Cookie, who is also an original character for the film, who's played by the actress Lisa Rempel, who I believe won the Best Actress Award for the Wonderland Film Festival. So that's kind of cool. She appeared in several films, I believe, in the Wonderland Film Festival. The one that I really loved her in, and that we often talk about here with our producers or pretty much anyone that would listen, is she played a mom in a film written by my son Maxwell that was just, I thought, was really, really very powerful. And actually, interestingly enough, Faith, my daughter, who plays Pippa in Pink, was Lisa's daughter in that film for Wonderland Film Festival. Okay, moving right along. You can find the Wonderland Film Festival if you'd like to rent it and watch it online. You can find that at blueforgefilms.com. Just click Blueflix and it's there. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you guys can rent and watch instantly. And it's, again, you're supporting an independent company. I don't want this to be a commercial. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm just really excited. So we have Luna, and she is actually a phone psychic to the stars, and she is friends with Emily. So now you guys are getting all the backstory. You're getting a little sneak peek into the film here. Then we see, oh my goodness, and you know what? I was talking about the film after I read Social Box, and I left out Georgina. So Georgina, please forgive me. The reason Georgina probably got left out is because Georgina's character, Connie, is also original to the film. She was not in the short story. She plays a military scientist. You see her in almost like a gas mask, and she's in full camo. It looks like she's coming home from work in the trailer, and she is actually friends with Barney, who is a character from the short story who also appears in the trailer. Georgina is definitely someone who knows her way around a camera. As it was, several of her shots were cut, and they were cut primarily for the reason that I was talking about with our producers on this end while Georgina was thinking about it, and we didn't even know that this was going on. And that is, there was simply too much contamination. In the world of the film, she would have had to have been much, much, much more careful than how we scripted her acting in the trailer. So we did cut some of the stuff. Again, to us, the trailer is more about the ambience of the film, not the particular details. And we almost always, this is almost like a sneak peek trailer or like a proof of concept trailer, we almost always release an additional trailer after a film has come out using actual footage from the film. One of the things, not in Georgina's shots, but in some of the other shots in the trailer, you'll see that folks were just learning their equipment. So they hadn't turned off autofocus, so the image goes whoop, 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 whoop. That's not something that can be fixed in post. And it happens over too many frames to just cut that part out. So there were folks that didn't know how to turn that off yet on whatever media they were using. There were a couple folks that were using Canon cameras that's a default setting, so they have to turn it off. Other folks that were using iPhones where you have to press and hold to lock your focus in place, things like that. So I thought that was really interesting, and that is part of the reason why the trailer will most likely be recut after the film. We get a little bit closer to when the film is releasing on Halloween of 2020. All right, so I'm just going to work from the script now because I don't want to show you guys too much of that trailer. If you want to see the trailer, go see it. tiny.cc/socialbox is where you will find all things Social Box. So then the next thing we see Jenny, who is played by Angela Faro, and she is a original character for the film. She's a home healthcare worker, and when the lockdown happens, she's in kind of a long-term placement. And the person that we hear, Heidi Handel, Mrs. Handel in the background, is actually played by her mom, Helena. So I thought that was kind of a cool thing. And also, Larry Hawkins is going to be part of this little subplot. He is an actor, and he is actually going to play, I won't tell you who he plays, but he will be interacting with Heidi and Jenny. And I think in the trailer, this is what, all of the folks that their shots involve them opening their box or taking the social box out of the box. Everyone, I don't think anyone knew they were struggling with this, but everyone struggled with sound. Because if your camera or phone that you're filming with is moving around in a box or hitting the sides of a box, it sounds massively loud. So the amount of audio editing that had to be done just to make the trailer was astronomical. Of course, once the social box is out of the cardboard box, we don't run into that issue again. So thank goodness. Thank goodness. And those shots of inside, that's exactly how it's done. The actor puts, since everyone's self-taping, the actor literally lays their phone or their camera in the box and just presses record, closes the box, says to themselves, action, and then begins the shot from there. So the shots come to us with a lot of extra on the beginning and the end, usually as someone is turning on or off the camera or phone. Then we see another original character to the film that is not in the short story. That is Patrick, who's played by Kellen Rainey. Kellen has appeared in a lot of our work. You can see him in some stuff at Blueflix and a lot of stuff at Blueflix Lite on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're watching this video, you should be able to click through to YouTube and you'll find our channel. It's just called Blue Forge Films, but we've branded it as Blueflix Lite. And that's because it's all of our content that is free to watch. You can see Kellen in Two Chicks and a Frog. You can see Kellen in Cassandra. Those are some of my favorites. So off camera, we hear his mom, Mary, played by Amber Rainey. And that's the same thing. She's original to the film, not in the short story. And Amber has starred in a lot of our projects. Most recently, I want to say it was My Wyvern Heart. And My Wyvern Heart won a couple of awards actually at the Best Shorts Film Festival competition. And I was very excited about that. And it's also one that is sponsored by Blue Village, that same acting troupe. Oh, it also has Greg Laurel in it. And I do a cameo and Brienne does a cameo. Eric Rainey, Amber's husband and Kellen's dad, has a role in that. Faith and Maxwell both have roles in that. So that's kind of cool. That was the very first commercial piece that became a Blue Village piece. So we see the same kind of thing. I think Kellen did really well trying to maneuver with the noisy cardboard box. But it is neat that those are two more original characters. But I thought that we needed a mom and a kiddo because that is a character archetype that I work really well with. Then we have Danio. Danio is a gamer, and he's played by Daniel Westmore. Daniel has appeared in a couple of things with us before. He has played students and like in the hallway scenes and classroom scenes and some of our stuff, I believe. And Daniel, you'll have to post below and tell me if I'm wrong about that, because that would have been a really long time ago with Book and Key or Last Druid it would have been. But I do know for sure that Daniel was absolutely fantastic in a comedy series that we did that is here on Blueflix Lite that is called Ghost Gang. And what I absolutely loved about Ghost Gang is there was a lot of ad-libbing. And what it is that Blue Legacy sponsors a youth group for young adults who wouldn't normally be cast in films, maybe because they're shy, or maybe they have they live with a medical condition or some kind of disability, or if they're like, I don't have the ways and means to get headshots and an agent and all that kind of stuff. So we would create for you every week, and kiddos would just drop in. We'd never know who was going to be there. And within the first 30 minutes, while everyone was chatting and catching up and eating pizza and drinking soda, because we always had, like food out, I would write a 5-minute script, like just looking at who we had and hopefully being inspired. And Daniel played this hysterical character in like a little ghost hunting gang. And I encouraged the young in Create For You to ad-lib and also to bring in their own flares. And my favorite moment with Daniel was when I said, okay, so if your character had to go find a weapon to fight a time traveling ghost time traveler creature, but you can only get what's in the classroom after school hours, what would you get? And you have to go watch that. It's just hysterical. And Daniel came up with what his character got all by himself. And I just thought it was really, really funny. So all these folks, I get to work with all of these folks as part of Blue Village. And that is just so fantastic for me. So Danio is talking to another gamer friend, JCat. And JCat was originally actually going to be played by a different Blue Village actor, but they just because life, guys, and real world pandemic, guys, they missed their deadline, and then they couldn't meet the extension deadline because their phone broke. Or the camera on the phone broke. So they had to be recast, but at that point, we had a waiting list among actors who at first had been like, no, I don't think I'm going to be able to film during quarantine. It's a little too scary. Or, they just had missed the open call Monday email. And so Voodoo, who is actually also a musician with Blue Forge Records, stepped in to play JCat. So that was also cool. Oh, and here's also another cool factoid, is that JCat is the daughter of Geraldine, who plays Anne. And this is the kind of thing that I just love. So I hope that you guys will like this. All right, then we move on to Beverly. Beverly is played by Carrie Avery Moriarty. There is a cool thing about Carrie, and actually there's many cool things about Carrie, but that actually she shares with some other actors that are part of Blue Village and that are also part of the trailer. And that is Carrie and Mark, and also Lauren Patzer, who plays Barney, Beverly's husband in the film, they're 3 of the authors who wrote in the Trinity Project. So in the Trinity June, they also have stories. They have stories in all the Trinity volumes. And so is Amber Rainey, Kellen's mom. So those guys, it's to me, I love this because it shows that Blue Legacy works. We have artisans that cross over all the divisions. I use that word artisans because I'm encompassing everyone. Our musicians, our game designers, our game programmers, our authors, our actors, our filmmakers, everyone. And I love that these folks feel so comfortable with Blue Legacy that they cross between these divisions and really embrace those divisions. And that means the absolute world to me. So We have Beverly is here, Carrie is here. Carrie, is a novelist in real life. And you should definitely check out her A Shiver of Magic on Amazon. They're monthly ebooks. They're amazing. And again, it's just another reason Amber, Carrie, Lauren, Mark, myself, and let's see, 1, 3, 4 other, is that correct? 5 other? Incredible. There's nine of us all together. Boy, I'm not mathing today at all. Great stories in the Trinity projects. Great stories. So I decided that Beverly would be an author, and she certainly was an author in the short story. It's funny because when I wrote the short story, I imagined Carrie. And I think it's just because Carrie she straddles two worlds. She has what is that phrase? A foot in two worlds, something like that. I am notoriously bad at idioms, you guys. It is literally a running joke in my family and among my closest friends that I always screw up idioms. But when I was writing the short story for Social Box, I imagined Carrie, and I just think she delivered. She absolutely delivered. Now, as you guys know, Beverly's hair is actually really, really short. And I believe Carrie's hair is longer in the trailer. But so that was a little bit of fun. Another cool little thing is that Carrie enlisted her son's help, who was quarantining with in the same house. And because there's that scene in the trailer, that moment when suddenly her computer shuts off. And in my mind, it was because Social Box was mad because she had looked in her provision box, her stimulus package, and gone, no coffee, they promised coffee. And she dropped the box and kind of tossed it aside. And Social Box didn't like being tossed aside, so Social Box turned off her laptop. To get that shot, she had her son off camera pull the plug on her laptop. So I thought that was absolutely brilliant. But again, Carrie is someone who also lives when I said she lives in two worlds, it's because Carrie does film and she does writing. But she also works very closely with authors who self-publish, and she works with independent presses. And maybe she works with corporate presses as well. Carrie, you'll have to comment below and let me know. But I just really love the fact that Carrie moves between all of these worlds. And she, like Georgina, is definitely someone that I know I don't have to give as much direction to. They figure it out and they put their own twist on things, but still give me stuff that I can really use. Beverly's in-world husband is Barney. We hear about Barney in the short story, but we never get to actually have a scene with him. We actually learn about him through Emily and through Beverly. So Lauren Patzer plays Barney, and it's funny because in my mind, I imagined Barney as much more crude than I think Lauren played him, but I wanted to see how Lauren would play him, and I like how Lauren played him. It's shot 20 in the trailer. It's when Beverly has just yelled, "What the hell?" after her laptop turns off, and we cut down to Barney, who's on the phone, and he's actually on the phone with Emily, who is the phone sex performer, the really cool sex worker who has come into that line of business only after quarantine started. So Barney is on the phone with Emily, and he pauses in their conversation because Beverly shouts upstairs, and he says, "That's my wife. She lives upstairs." And I imagined in my head, I imagined like Barney's hand like in his robe or something like this. But admittedly, for a trailer, that's a little bit too risque. I think with the film, we can push things a little bit more, and I think we are probably going to wind up with an R rating. Maybe an NC-7, or wait, no, R is before. NC-17 is worse, right? Worse. It's just more grown up. It's not worse. We've done NC-17 films before at Blue Forge Films, but I believe we're probably going to have an R with this one, with the feature. But the trailer is pretty much approved for all audiences, pretty much. I'd say 13 and older. So I thought Lauren did a great job playing Barney with with just the right amount of attitude, but without being too risque. Then we cut to Emily, who is in the short story, played by Ness Rose. I adore Ness, and I adore Ness in this role. Ness, I don't think she has a problem with me saying this. It's certainly in the short story. I'm not sure. I don't want to lie. I did not have Ness in mind specifically when I wrote Emily for the short story in June of 2019. But that's because I didn't know Ness either at all or very well in maybe just not, I'm trying to think. Ness is also one of the incredible talents that crosses over between different projects in our film division. So she does a show with us, and oh my gosh, I just blanked on the show's name. Oh my gosh, Ness. Talk About It. Talk About It? I think that's correct. Ness, please correct me if I'm wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. So she does a show with us, but the reason that I have in the past and continue to write characters who live with osteogenesis imperfecta is because very early on, as a matter of fact, in the very first year, the very first project, Ghost Sniffers Inc., the very first public audition I ever held for anything, and again, the first film writing or television writing the first visual writing that I ever did, there was a fantastic young adult, I guess at that point, a teen, named Christy Gromberg. And she influenced my life so much. And people say, oh yeah, Ness, I think it was you who actually said this story, how hard it can be when people come up to someone who's in a wheelchair or who clearly lives with a medical condition that impacts their life in a pretty major way. And a complete stranger will say, oh, look at you shopping all by yourself. You're so inspiring. For shopping? Thanks. We all know what they mean, but that can be hard. Christy, I think, she made such an impact on my life because she knew me during a time that was incredibly painful. And I was in a really toxic place. And she was always so kind. And not all actors were kind on set. And not all parents of the children actors were kind on set. I was, in quotes, for lack of a better term, I was outed during the filming of Ghost Sniffers Inc. And it was incredibly difficult. Though I didn't feel like I was living in the closet, I hadn't said to every person that came on set, hi, my name's Jennifer, I'm a lesbian. And there was some very ugly backlash from some of the parents who worked with us on that show. And that was really, really hard for me. And even though, at least my impression of Christy's family was that it was a Christian family, she continued to treat me with incredible kindness. And that is why Christy made such an impact on me. It has nothing to do with osteogenesis imperfecta. However, I write characters with autism because my son lives with autism. I want to write, and I want the world to see that autism is indeed a spectrum, and people with autism look different ways and act different ways, and I want to bring awareness to that. And that's how I feel about osteogenesis imperfecta. Yes, ultimately, people are all people, but I would like people to see more actors who live with conditions like Christy and like Ness, who plays Emily in the film. I think Christy didn't accept a role in Social Box, I think, and Christy, you can comment below and tell me, because she was already cast in the dramatic sci-fi film being done by Blue Village called Angels of Anarchy, and there was a while there when we thought these were going to conflict, and so that was going to be pretty tricky. But you can actually see Christy as a kiddo and Maxwell and Faith as kiddos in Ghost Sniffers Inc., so that's pretty cool. So I really liked Ness as this role as Emily. She embodied it perfectly. The accent was absolutely Though I talked about a Bronx accent in the original short story, again, it was just what I said in the short story. I'm like, oh, this is like a performance piece. I didn't mention that to Ness, and that is not in the script for the trailer. But Ness came up with it on her own because I think, at least, again, Ness below comments, it was kind of like, okay, what would Emily do? You know, she's used to this, these performance pieces. She probably has like a whole bunch of accents that she pulls out according to what people want. So I really liked that. There was another take, Ness sent me several takes, which I really appreciated. There was another take where when Emily says, to Barney, you were telling me about your package. And, she means it as the innuendo, but she flicked the stimulus package, the Probo box that's on the counter that she hasn't unpacked yet, that has the social box in it. And I wasn't able to use that take, and I missed that little flick. So you'll definitely see that little flick of the package in the feature film. Then we cut to Neil, and in this shot, what Neil is supposed to be doing, that I don't know if it's entirely clear, it'll be clear in the feature, is he has actually already unpacked his social box, and he's setting his social box down, and the social box is actually filming him. So Neil's character, who's played by my son Maxwell, does live with autism, but he also he is mute, and so he can communicate with words. He has absolute comprehension. He can hear just fine, but there is a community that I'm sorry guys, I'm pausing because I have a public life that I have to live very, very transparently as someone who works with a nonprofit that is literally formed to help the public. But then, of course, like almost all individuals, I do have some I want to try to maintain some privacy. So let it suffice to say, there is a beautiful community online that has grown up around selective mutism and with another project, I received a lot of support from that community for the project that I was working on at the time, and that influenced me very strongly, and back in June of 2019. So that is why Neil is mute. So we also, the wooden models that we see Neil working on are actually a fascination and a hobby that is a personal hobby, but I will share that with you guys today. In the feature film, Neil has like 20 of these, and they really do. They work the way I talk about them working in the short story. They move, and some of them have solar panels, and you put them together. They don't use glue or anything like that. They snap together, and it's like thousands of pieces, and we see Neil doing those. Then we snap to Cookie. Cookie is played by Lisa Rempel, and she is best friends with Kitty, who she's talking to, played by Leah Kelly, like I was saying. Cookie and Kitty are both brand new to the feature film. They are original for the film. And like I said, they have like a podcast that also has a video element, and they're in the film, they are in completely different states, but still they film together and stream together. So I think those two characters are going to be hysterical, and they're definitely going to bring a lot of humor and fun to the film. We go back to Pippa. Again, with Pippa in Pink segments, we tried to really take advantage of the studio space here at Blue Legacy, and the thing where she goes like this with her phone. She has an app that tests if something has any viral bacteria on it, and the sounds were all laid in, and the image on her screen is literally just an image that's being displayed. That is going to be a little bit more complex in the feature film, but it's just a little movie magic, just does very simple here. The serial number, interestingly enough, that Pippa says, C129076, that's actually the real serial number that's on the real holographic security label that we put on the top of her box. We actually bought all of these, just a ton of these numerically, chronologically numbered serial number holographic codes that were then sent to the actors so they could use them on their boxes that are their provision boxes. So I thought that was kind of a neat thing. Now, the Pippa's stream cuts out because I wanted, this was symbolizing kind of like with Beverly's computer, that the social box was taking over and shutting down her stream because it wanted to just be able to go one-on-one with Pippa at first to sway her. Then we go back to Patrick, and it's actually really cool because originally Patrick wasn't going to be in the trailer. It was going to be Amber, his mom, Mary, but there was just some scheduling stuff that popped up, and I don't want to, it's not my place to reveal anything from Amber's own life, and we came up with this because I still wanted Mary. I wanted people to know, even if it's just that little bit, that there is this mom and son. And I thought Kellen did a great job, especially because it's kind of a weird, pretend that the thing that's filming you is this other thing. And then we go back to JCat and I should definitely say, just like with Greg Laurel, JCat is played by Voodoo, who's with Blue Forge Records. Go on over to blueforgerecords.com, check these guys out. Voodoo has 2 albums with us and a music video. Greg's also has a music video up, so absolutely support them. We go back to Neil, and I love this idea how, much like in the short story, where you got the impression that the social box was a network that was talking to all these people kind of in tandem, is that I hope that in the trailer we also get that idea, is that the social box is saying hello to everyone. And then we finally get to, hello, Neil. But then it's Anne who says, you know my name? We bounce back to, of course, Connie, and now she has the social box in the house, and Geraldine and myself and the producers were all thinking, oh, wait, she just took the box from outside. She didn't spray it. She just brought it right in. So there we go. Then we go back to Dwight. What I love about this shot with Mark Miller is that it's a real gun. It's not a prop gun. He's shooting alone. But for absolute safety, he didn't load the gun. And he knows that when we use firearms at Blue Forge Films, in films, they are real firearms, but they are literally never loaded. As a matter of fact, our policy is not only are they not loaded, but we don't even load them with blanks, so that there can be no remnants in the chamber, nothing that goes wrong. There's literally nothing. And with the firearms that the company actually owns, they've literally never been loaded. So there's all of that. So he kept the revolver that he used empty out of respect to Blue Forge Films. Now, in the feature, it's going to have to be loaded with something, or he's going to have to use a different firearm because, as you guys saw, Mark gave us, I think it was 8 takes for this shot, and oh my gosh, I was so grateful for that. But in all of them, except the one that's in the trailer, it is too obvious that the gun isn't loaded. You can see right up the chambers that are, am I using the wrong words? I hope I'm not, you guys. I'm sorry, firearms are not my specialty. I admit that quite readily. But you can see it's not loaded. With this one, if you know what you're looking for, you can also tell that it's unloaded, but this is the one where it was the least obvious. But the shot that we used in the trailer was our best option, and I was very grateful that we had that. Then we do go back to Luna then, and the reason that we see Luna in front of the bird cage, Luna is played by Brienne DiMarco, who I should mention, Brienne is the senior editor at Blue Forge Press. So the Trinity Project exists as a book that you guys can buy. Trinity January, Trinity February, Trinity, all of them. Trinity June, that has Social Box in it. It exists as a book that you guys can purchase and enjoy because of Brienne. So as Luna, we shot her second shot in front of the bird cage because in her first shot, the real life birds that are our pet birds, specifically Brienne and Faith's pet birds, were just singing up a storm. They were going crazy. And we thought, well, we have to explain why there's these tiny little bird sounds behind in the background at Luna's house. And interestingly enough, I think in the trailer, we don't actually hear the birds in the first shot, but I thought it was kind of cool. And I hope to actually indeed have the birds appear a little bit more. I intend to have the birds. No, I can't do any of that. I'll have you'll see the birds in the feature film. No, let's not even say that. Let's just cut it after that. And then, of course, as you guys know, if you've already seen the trailer, which I'm hoping everyone has seen the trailer by the time they're watching this reaction, we go to Neil and the social box is revealed. Now, interestingly enough, the social box that we see in the trailer is not the social box that is described in the short story. The social box that is described in the short story is very intricate, actually. It's explained, I think it's either Pippa or Neil who say that who are thinking about the social box and making the comparison, or was it Emily? Oh, see, now I can't remember. That it's like a Rubik's Cube, but instead of little squares, little cubes making up the bigger cube, it's made of triangles and trapezoids and things like that with colored light that shines between the seams of the pieces. That is something that we actually own, and you will see it in the feature film. But in general, the social box that we will be seeing people have in their homes is the one that is shown in the trailer. And the way that more complicated social box is revealed will be in the film. So, the trailer has already released. As like I said, I hope you guys already know, the film is coming out October 31st, Halloween of 2020. And I am very proud to be the writer and director of Social Box and be working with the fantastic Blue Village acting troupe. They are just amazing. Please consider joining us. Again, it's only $2 a month, so that's kind of a cool thing. And we have cool projects like this going on all the time. And as long as there is COVID-19 to worry about, we will be doing things with self-taping so that people stay completely safe. But again, even if you've never self-taped anything before in your life, if you have a smartphone, we can talk you through it. We can do tutorials. We are willing to work with everyone. You don't have to be shy. Even if you've never acted before, we have folks working with us who have never acted before. We're happy to have them. So thanks, you guys. This is my long-winded commentary. I think that's what commentaries and reactions are supposed to be anyway. See you guys.